Hey guys, I've got another journal to share with you today. This is one that I just made for fun. So I haven't decided yet what I'm going to do with it, or if I'm going to put it in my Etsy shop and sell it, or give it away or something. I don't really know. I just made it because I felt inspired. I was actually inspired by lots of different artists on Pinterest. So if you go to my Pinterest, I have a board called project/journals, I think, and that's just where I pin all my inspiration for making journals. So if you want to have a look, because there was way too many different artists that I was inspired by, lots of different pictures. So it's quite big, and my first idea was to make a tag out of grunge board that wasn't stuck all the way down, so that I could hang eyelets and charms off it. I just thought that would look cool and be something a bit different. So I just made a tag out of the grunge board, Tim Holtz grunge board, and inked it up and aged it up. And then I added the eyelets and I hung off some charms. So this is a real vintage charm. This is a little heart locket. I've got a little clasp attached to this eyelet, but there's nothing on it yet, just to add something to it later. I made this little charm out of a die cut. You know, like the ones you get at the back of the 6x6 pads sometimes, the Casercraft ones. And I just backed it onto some grunge board, inked it up, and I think I just sealed it over with some glue. And then I added this little coin charm. Hopefully you can see it. Hopefully it's not too dark in here, but it's just a little coin charm that I had on a bracelet or something when I was younger. And so I added some of those charms with the wax linen thread, which is what I use to bind my journals. It's really strong, and I just liked that it gave it another element of texture, because I was really just wanting to layer up all different medias. So some paper, there's grunge board, and then there's these little mini pegs, sewed on some buttons, some I'm trying not to say too much because I know it's really annoying, but some of that, what's it called? What I use on the spines of my crochet, so just a little piece of crochet, and then just random bits and pieces from old jewellery and stuff like that. Metal eyelets on all the tags, some twine, and a safety pin there. This is a real old playing card. This is real old music paper, and then the rest is like Tim Holtz paper. So this is Tim Holtz, and then it's just all been aged up. And then this is just from a different paper line. I'm not even sure which paper line. And then on the spine, I want to do something slightly different, so I just added random beads to the binding, and I didn't do it in any particular pattern or order, and I left them kind of loose so that they could slide along the binding. I covered the spine in the burlap first before I bound it, before I added all that. The only kind of pattern that I used was on the first thread. I did it on the outside stitches, and then the middle, then the outside, and then the middle, and the outside, if that makes sense. So that was kind of the only method that I had when I made that. And then there's the back. I'm just going to quickly shut the door because my son's got the iPad. Sorry, my son just has the iPad and he just turned it up really loud, so I wasn't sure if it would be annoying or distracting. So this is the Casercraft paper there at the back, and then that's all I really did for the cover. And then the inside's quite plain as well, but I'll show you because I aged my papers slightly different to usual, and I'm really happy with how they turned out. So on the inner front cover here, I've just made this pocket, and I've just slipped a tag in there. This is just some lacy trim there for extra decoration. And you probably won't be able to see because I think it's quite dark in here, but that's stamping along the pocket is a So Stamper stamp. Here, I've got it here. This one by We Are Memory Keepers, in case you're wondering. So obviously it would look better if it was actually stitched, but I'm a little bit lazy having to get my sewing machine out, especially because I always have trouble with it. But anyway, I made the same pocket at the back as well, pretty much the exact same. And then for the pages, I wanted them to be really grungy. Most of them are plain. There's a couple of pattern pages in here as well, but it's mostly plain and all different sizes. Any rips or anything that happened in the aging process of like distressing the paper, the pages, I just left it and included it anyway because I thought it just adds to it, adds to the vintage look. And instead of just dunking my pages in the tea and coffee and letting them dry hanging up, I laid one sheet out at a time into this big pan that I have, and I just got the actual tea bag, which was in a tea and coffee solution mixture, and I just rubbed it over the pages, painted the pages with it basically. Sometimes I flipped it over and did the back side, and sometimes I didn't have to, and just kept laying them on top of each other until I was finished, and then they were baked in the oven. But the only other thing I did to get all this interesting patterns and textures was I used my distress sprays. I think I used Gathered Twigs, and sometimes I just spritzed a little bit in between some of the pages, and then it just ended up running with the water, like the hot water and the tea and coffee, and just reacted really nicely and just gave it this really cool aging. I've used some coloured paper as well. And then once I finished all of my pages, I just popped that pan into the oven to dry them, and that's how you get it so aged up on the edges as well. Just in the oven it just kind of burns, I guess. But I don't ever leave the paper in the oven when the oven's actually on because I have a 2-year-old and I'm a bit forgetful, so I just turn it on while I preheat it while I'm aging the paper, and then once it's done I turn it off, pop all the pages in there, let them sit in there until it cools down, and then just repeat the process until they're dry, just to be safe. Sometimes it does take me a while, especially if I forget that I've got them sitting in there and forget to reheat the oven, but like it can take all day to actually get them properly dry. It can take 2 days if I forget, but it works well for me. So I just try and flip through fairly quickly just because it's so plain. And I'm not actually sure exactly how many pages that I ended up putting into here, but it did turn out quite thick. And because of how big the book is, there's so much room in here. Like if you wanted to use it as a scrapbook, just for sticking things in, like a Smashbook scrapbook, or putting photos in it, or like an album, or you could just use it as a journal. So I'm not sure how I would use it, and I kind of feel like if I hang on to it, it'll probably just never get used. So I may end up just putting it into my Etsy shop or something. And just to get the doily to imprint on some of the pages, I just put the doily down. I don't think, I couldn't really wipe the tea over the doilies because they just break, and it's hard to dunk them because they break as well. So I think I just put the doilies in and then spritz them with the distress spray, and then I added water if I needed to like dilute the spray a little bit. So they ended up cool, and then they left some cool patterns on the other pages as well. And all the different sizes to the pages makes it a little bit fun to use as well. some of them are really nice and dark. So I'll probably be aging my papers this way a lot more especially if I want them to look really vintage. So there's this book. That's all there really is to show you at the moment. I don't know if I'll add any stamping or anything to the inside, but I kind of like it the way it is, so I'll probably just leave it the way it is. Yeah, thanks for watching, and hopefully I didn't say too many times, because I know that I tend to do that. It's really annoying. I just did it again. Okay, so I'm going to finish up and I'll be back soon with more videos.